tonight we are going to experience a private RIP tour at Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights.
We're really excited. We did an RIP tour last year, but it wasn't private. So there's a few differences between the two. With a non-private RIP tour, you only get to go through the houses once. They do take you to the front of the line, but you only get to go through one time. And with the private RIP tour, you get the guide for the entire night, and they'll take you to the houses as many times as you want. So you kind of get to make your own agenda.
And that's from 5:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. And you can go to the house as many times as you want, unlimited amount. That includes the rides too. And really the point of this video today is to show what a private RIP tour is like, because they're expensive and we know that most people can't afford those. We certainly can't afford them.
Shout out to my mom. Thank you, Mom.
And yeah, this is to show exactly what this tour is like.
So we're going to be checking in at 5:30. You check in outside of the gates to the park, and then they take you up to a reception where there's going to be food and a cash bar. And then you get to watch the opening ceremonies from a balcony. So you get an above view of the opening ceremonies, which we've actually never seen before because we're always either here too early or too late.
Like doing Stay and Scream or trying to get to the houses before doing the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that our tour guide is able to show us the M3GAN Horde, because that's been extremely difficult to see. And we've been to Halloween Horror Nights for the past 4 weekends, and we've only really done the houses once or twice, which shows how busy this year has been.
Yeah, it has been super crowded. So, there are other opportunities during the night of the tour to get snacks and drinks and things. There's no real meal, but
there's food.
Yeah, there is food on the tour. If there was any year to do the RIP tour, I think this is a good year for it.
We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we need your help. So click that subscribe button.
Please subscribe. It would really help us out.
And bell notifications.
Yeah, we will keep you updated as we experience it. We can't film in the houses, but we can definitely film the scare zones and hopefully get some words of wisdom from our tour guide, because they give you a lot of backstory behind the houses and the scare zones and just the creative process and the stories. So I'm excited to see what they have to say.
Alrighty. See you then.
Call me Brittany because of the Brittany pom-poms, but if you ever need my attention tonight, you can just throw something at me. So, whatever you need to get my attention, it's really fine. So I just want to go over a couple of tour rules before we step off to make sure that you guys stay safe while having the most amount of fun possible, as well as keeping our team members safe, which is also very important. So first and foremost, I want to remind you guys that you guys paid to be here tonight to get scared, not the other way around. So we want to be kind and respectful to those scare actors. They are people too underneath of those scary masks. I know sometimes it's hard to remember that, but so please make sure that we're respectful to them. Don't yell at them or anything like that. Don't try and scare them, and please don't touch them either. They might accidentally boop you. I was like, they might accidentally boop you. I get patted on the head by a particular hide every night. I don't know who it is. But every time he sees me, he's like, hello, it's good to see you. And I was like, okay. It happens. Sometimes Vecna has booped me a couple of times because he forgets that he's got long fingers. But it happens. Just laugh it off and keep going, You are allowed to take as many pictures and videos inside of the scare zones as you guys would like to. We just ask that you keep the flash off. Again, according to our scare actors, they've got small eye holes in a lot of those masks. They can't really see, and then when you add the flash, when the sun goes down, they can't see, and they're like, whoa! So we don't want anyone to trip and fall, so just keep the flash off. Now, when we go inside of the houses, though, we do have to put all phones, photography, all that stuff away. We're not allowed to go inside the houses. It is a safety precaution, just because if you get scared and you trip and fall, we don't want you to hurt yourself or lose your phone, anything like that. Trust me, it happens. I fell the other night, so I had a big wipeout coming out of Stranger Things. It was great. It was a great moment. The scare actor did a fantastic job. I literally dropped to the floor. So, you know, it happens. But yeah, just make sure that they're put away in pockets or anything like that, just to make sure that, you know, they don't give you a hard time, because that's no fun. We are going to be doing some bar stops tonight if you would like. Just a reminder that open containers are not allowed inside the houses. So if you have an open container, we'll have to wait and do the chug chant for everybody. Right before we go inside the house, you'll toss the container and then move on, you know? Easy stuff. But closed water bottles are totally fine. You'll notice I've got one on my hip because we're trying to hydrate tonight, not dehydrate. Because that's no fun. Yeah, you're not going to go till 2 a.m. or anything if you're not hydrated. I promise you that. Now, my number one rule on tour, you have to have a good time. Okay? If you're not having a good time, you pull me to the side, we'll have a little kiki, we'll fix the problem, and then we'll keep going having a good time. Sound good?
Yes.
All right. Now, before I officially take you guys out into this event, there is someone that I need to talk about in particular. The man of the hour, Dr. Oddfellow. Alrighty, so he is our icon for this year. We are going to see him constantly throughout the event tonight. He is represented inside of every single scare zone, and his symbol, which is actually on your buttons, it's the symbol that's right on that forehead, is actually in every single house somewhere. So you'll start to pick up on that as we start to walk through. You'll see it. You'll get more familiar with it. But he's very important. So this is the very first time in Halloween Horror Nights history that all of the scare zones are connected in a storyline, and they are all Dr. Oddfellow's backstory. Now, the route that I'm going to take you guys to knock out the houses the first time around tonight, we're going to be going backwards in his storyline, so Benjamin Button style, but I'll do my best to try and explain as we're going. So, we just watched the opening ceremonies, which was him standing on top of this lovely little platform, talking to us. Now, this opening scare zone right here is called Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror. He is actually down on the ground interviewing guests to see if you are worthy of becoming immortal with him, because he is an immortal being. He's got a magical skull that is green and it glows on top of his cane, and that is what gives him immortality. It also gives him the ability to shapeshift as well. So we may not necessarily see him in this particular form in every single scare zone. So he'll turn into a werewolf, a vampire, that human form, all sorts of things. And I'll try and point him out and talk about him before we go in, so you know who to look for. Now, he's literally asking people about their zodiac signs in this very first scare zone. So I find that to be very interesting, and that is how he is telling whether or not you are immortal or not. I've been approved, so, because I am a Sagittarius. So, he likes those fire signs a lot, I think. That's kind of the vibe that I've been getting. So, with that being said, let's head on out. I'm going to take us over to our sound stages first, just because it is still so bright outside. Going into the sound stages allows your eyes to adjust a little bit better. I've noticed if we go to the tents first, you can't see a thing. Yes. So, and I want you to appreciate those houses because they are stunning. Literally Universal Monsters, Darkest Steel. Honestly, they're also good this year. I can't even pick a favorite house. You'll realize it at the end of the night. They're just all so good. So, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alrighty, I have got my magical lightsaber here. I'm picking green for the evening because it's a rarer color, so it's easier to spot me. And you'll always know because I got my big pom-poms in. So, alright, let's head on out. I'm gonna take us down the back stairway here. I just asked that we go single file behind me as I try and be Moses to part the sea of people. Alrighty, so just try and stay right behind me, all my little ducklings in a row as we do this. Yeah. All right, let's go. So, this house is based off of the old attraction that used to stand in Islands of Adventure. Sorry, I was not going to just scream it. Okay. Okay, hopefully that was it. Sorry, I was like, I'm not going to try and scream over that. I have a vocal audition tomorrow. So, Dueling Dragons. It used to be an attraction over in Islands of Adventure before Harry Potter took over the world. So it was Dueling Dragons. Then when Harry Potter took over, it was Dragon Challenge. And now it is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure.
Thanks, Hagrid.
But this house is very nostalgic for a lot of different reasons. We actually looked at a lot of the renderings from the original attraction to make sure that it was as accurate as possible. And my favorite fact is actually 2 of the people who worked on the decor inside of this house actually opened and closed the original ride in Islands. So it's a full circle moment for a lot of our cast members and for a lot of our guests, which is really exciting. Now, for storyline, we have Merlin. And although he is a great wizard, he manages to be tricked by the beauty from the Lady of the Lake, and she turns him into an oak tree. Yep. Now, just before he turned into an oak tree, he managed to cast a spell on his magical spell book in order to ensure that nobody who was unworthy got their hands on the book. Now, word travels very quickly inside of this realm, and there are 2 warlocks, Blizzrock and Pyrock, who hear of what has happened to Merlin. So they gather up their armies and they go racing after the spell book. And just as they're going to reach for the book, poof, they turn into dragons for all eternity. Now, we are adventurers in this story. And as we're traveling, we hear a voice coming to us through the wind. It sounds like it's coming from an oak tree. Now, this voice is asking us to go after the spellbook ourselves in order to restore peace to the realm and save Merlin. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering what the Choose Thy Fate portion of this house means. It means the house actually splits off at the very end. There are 2 different sides of this house. So, there will literally be a sign that says Choose Thy Fate. If you look up, there are actually 3 claw marks in the ceiling. They're identical to the ones that used to be at that exact same point in the attraction when you had to pick which side of the coaster you wanted to go on. But you get to split off however you would like. Now, since it is a private tour, I always recommend let's do the house twice so you guys can see both sides. We can do it either now or later. That's totally up to you guys. But that way we can all go one route and then go back around and all go the second route so you guys can see what happens. There are technically 4 different endings. There's 2 for each side, and it will switch with the cast change. So we'll only get to see 2 of those endings right now. If we come back later, we could potentially see the other 2. Who knows? Yeah. But with that, are we ready to choose thy fate? Woo! Let's go! So, our next house is going to be Yeti Campground Kills. Now, the very first time that we saw our Yeti friends was actually in a house called Slaughterhouse Cinema, which was a house that was comprised of a whole bunch of different original HHN ideas. We kind of used it to test the waters to see what people really liked, and of course, we loved our Yetis. So, in 2019, we did a whole Yeti house, which was Yeti Terror of the Yukon. If anyone remembers it, it was beautiful, it was cold, it was great, we loved it, and everybody else loved it too, which is why we brought them back for another chapter of their story. But this time, we're heading to a campsite in the 1950s, and we're going on a camping trip. Oh yeah, family camping, it's good. Now, what we don't know is right above our campsite, there is a mountain, and there's got some Yetis. There's a Yeti family. Now, we're of course on a camping trip, so we're making hot dogs, we're making hamburgers, maybe some ribs if we feeling fancy, some s'mores, you know? All the good smelling foods, and of course, all of that good smelling food heads up to that mountain, and there's a little baby Yeti, and he smells all the good foods, and he wants a snack, he's hungry. So he comes down the mountain, and comes into our campsite, and he ends up running into a little kid named Billy. Now Billy is a bully, and Billy starts bullying this Yeti. They get into a fight. Billy wins, and the Yeti dies. Yep, dead baby Yeti. Now, of course, Mommy Yeti finds out very quickly as to what's happening, and she's not happy. So she gets her entire family, they come down to the campsite, and they start killing everybody. Yep. Woohoo! Now, I think it's really funny. The fun fact that they gave us for this house was, one, all of the state park signs inside of this house have a number 32 on it because it's our 32nd year. But they also wanted us to know that they were so specific in some of the dead body parts that we have in this house. For example, there is a Yeti that has an arm, and that arm has a watch on it and a wedding ring on it, so you know that he had a family. Don't know why we need to know that because you can barely see it, but we do. So there it is. Now, Yeti or not, it's time to go camping. And you can't hide, because they will find you. Are we ready?
Yes.
Let's go. Woo! Time for the moment of the hour. Stranger Things 4! Yeah. Now, have we seen the series?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, good. Because there are spoilers. You haven't seen it? You haven't
She doesn't watch it.
Okay, you're not going to understand anything this house. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're 4 seasons deep, man. Yeah, you know, there's only so much I can talk about. So, if you've seen season 4, you know that the season is kind of all over the place in terms of location. So in order to make sure that we had a coherent story that people would understand, we've decided to place it in one setting. Hawkins. The place that started it all. Now we'll have one brief moment where we'll pop into the Nina project, so we'll get to see a little bit of Elle and one's backstories because it is so pivotal in this series. But for the most part, we are in Hawkins. Now we're gonna start off our house. Nettie Munson's trailer with Chrissy, because we just want her to wake up and she's not waking up and I really don't like it, and it doesn't end well.
Wake up, Chrissy!
No, and very quickly we're gonna learn that we have a dark part of our past too, because Vecna is officially cursing all of us and the countdown clock is for each and every one of us. Oh yeah! So I hope you guys all have a good song playing in your noggin, because that's the only thing that's gonna save you from Vecna. Now, I am no master of puppets, but I do think it's time to run up that hill because things are about to get really strange. Let's go. Alrighty, so we're about to do what I like to call a double feature picture show, because we're gonna walk out of one haunted house and go directly into the next one. So I'm gonna set them both up right here. So the very first one that we're gonna do is Blood Moon Dark Offering. Oh yeah. Now, we're heading back in time. It's the early 1600s in a small colonial town called Parishtown. Now, as I'm sure you all remember from the history books, not all colonies were successful. And this happens to be the one that is struggling just a lot. It's a lot. They're struggling pretty bad. So the town is split in half between the moon farmers, who are people that are so focused on the moon and the different phases of the moon that they have devoted their entire lives to what that moon is telling them. So when to harvest their crops, when to plant, all that stuff. It all depends on what the moon tells them. The other half of the town is what the moon farmers call the false-hearted. They're the people that are like, y'all are weirdos. This is strange. Y'all are weird. Now, it is their harvest festival. It is the eve of their harvest festival, and the moon has turned a bright crimson red. And the moon farmers take that as that they need to perform a sacrifice in order to have a successful rest of the year. Now, who better to sacrifice than those who are against them, the false-hearted? So they go after them and start killing everybody. Oh yeah. Now, if you guys were here last year, you may remember a house called Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Point. Very beautiful, stunning house. Now, throughout that entire house, you could see the captain's widow and the lighthouse off in the distance as you were walking through. It was visually stunning. It literally made everyone's jaws drop. Well, that exact same show director is the one for this house, and it has the exact same element in it. It is the bell tower. So throughout the whole house, you can see the bell tower, your left or your right, depending on where you're walking. Now, they also want us to know that the entire house is happening in real time. Meaning, as we're walking through, there could be moments where you could look to your left or to your right and see the other half of the line. They're going through a scene that we haven't even gotten to yet. It's 3 scenes ahead of us. So they want us to know that it's like we've been dropped in the middle of the chaos and the whole town is just running amok and we can see all of it happen. It is so cool. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Now, the second house that we will go into is, of course, The Exorcist Believer. Now, fun fact about me, before I got my tour offer again this year, I was cast as a scare actor for the very first time after 3 years of auditioning. I obviously got this and I took this job because I love it so much, but I was cast in this house. So I have a little bit of a connection to this house because I love it. I was not one of the possessed girls, I'm too tall. So I'll let you try and figure out who maybe I am in the house. But anyway, so all we know about this house is that there are two girls, Angela and Catherine. After school one day, they wander off into the woods and disappear for 3 days. When they return, they have no recollection of anything that has occurred. They think they've only been gone for a couple of hours. And things start to get really weird really quick. Now, Angela's father, Victor Fielding, who is played by Leslie Odom Jr. in the movie, he's truly in the room where it happens in this one, friends, because he realizes very quickly that it's outside of the medical field. So he's going to need some outside help to figure out how to help these girls. So he looks to the one person who has experienced this thing before. Chris McNeil from the original Exorcist film is reprising her role and coming back for this movie. And that's all we know because the movie has not come out yet. I got my tickets already, so. But that's literally it. This house is a little smelly. It's not vomit, it's poop. So I'll let you know ahead of time. But with that being said, are we ready to go join the cult of the Moon Farmers? Alrighty, let's head on in. We're gonna go up against this wall over this way. Alrighty, just so you guys know where I'm headed. In case anyone needs a bathroom break or wants an alcoholic beverage for the show. So we're gonna stop there or to refill the fancy cups. Yes. But storylines for our two scare zones. I'm just gonna set them up now so that way we can book it over there to make sure that we get there on time with some good seats. So the first one we're gonna walk through is my favorite scare zone this year. It's so good. It's Vamp 69, Summer of Blood. The music in this scare zone is incredible. It is so much fun. It's truly the grooviest party in all of Halloween Horror Nights, if you ask me. Now, in terms of Dr. Oddfellow's story, so it's 1969, and Dr. Oddfellow has decided that he wants to try out some different types of blood, basically other different types of sacrifices. So he turns himself into a vampire and infiltrates a vampire clan that hasn't actually been feasting in a while and convinces them to go attack this small music festival, which is what is happening inside of this scare zone. Dr. Oddfellow is walking around. He is iconic. He looks like Jimi Hendrix inside of this scare zone. So he's got a big afro and a red vest walking around. You'll know him when you see him. Very obviously Dr. Oddfellow. He's got the scar and all that stuff. Now, the second scare zone that we're going to walk through is the one inside of our San Francisco area, and it's called Shipyard 32. So this scare zone takes place in the 1940s. Dr. Oddfellow is currently traveling and trying to move his creatures around the country. He ends up in a shipyard, and they all start escaping. He is a wolf man inside of this scare zone. He hangs out towards where the normal exit to the Fast and Furious ride is. Over by those boxes over there is typically where you're gonna see him. There's also a truck with his symbol on it, which is kind of cool. And all of the creatures inside of the scare zone are actually all from Halloween Horror Nights past. So, and it will change with the cast. So they're not going to have all the same monsters out with both casts, which I think is really cool because we get to pay tribute to even more of our fun creatures that we've created, like Nosferatu. We've got a Tooth Fairy out there, and a couple of other really cool ones that you'll probably recognize if you've been a frequent flyer to Halloween Horror Nights, which is really fun. Now, like I said, we're going to head on over to Lombard, so that's where we will all be meeting. But with that being said, are we ready to go get groovy? We gotta dance with this scare zone, because that's the only way to do it. All right, let's head on.
yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring to their knees.
Alrighty, so we're gonna do another double feature picture show for these 10 houses back here. So, the very first one that we're gonna go into is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. So we've kind of been talking about Dr. Oddfellow all evening. He actually gets his start in our jungle scare zone, which is up towards the front. We haven't walked through it yet, but it's coming, I promise. We haven't left it out. And in that scare zone, he actually discovers this magical skull, the green skull that we've been seeing him carrying around, where he gets all of his power. Obviously, in the jungle, there's not a whole lot of people, so he needed to move on and find more souls that he could steal in order to continue to stay immortal and get more power and all that stuff. So he ends up starting a circus and starts traveling around the country. Now, we are in 1933 in our house, and he's teamed up with a guy named Jack Schmidt. That name might sound familiar to you if you're familiar with any of our Halloween Horror Nights lore. Now, Jack Schmidt is one of the clowns in the circus, and he has actually been kidnapping children and killing them, which obviously is going to draw a little bit too much attention. So Dr. Oddfellow and Jack are not exactly the best of friends. Now, we are circus goers. We're here to enjoy the circus, and we go in and we're kind of bored. The daytime circus was kind of boring. It's all stuff that we've seen before. And Dr. Oddfellow hears that we're a little bit disappointed, so he decides to invite us out for the after hours event. Of course, we show up, and it probably wasn't a good idea that we showed up, because we very quickly learned that we are the ones being sacrificed for Dr. Oddfellow's immortality. Now, obviously this is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins, because there are two origin stories that are being told inside of this house. So we have Dr. Oddfellow's, obviously, but Jack Schmidt. So throughout the entire house, you're going to see a silhouette of a crazy looking clown inside of there with crazy Wendy's pigtails, and you're also going to see his very classic white suit with the colored polka dots all over, because that Jack Schmidt ends up becoming Jack the Clown. That was our very first icon for Halloween Horror Nights. So there is an image that happens towards the very end of the house. It's the second to last scene that we'll walk through. And you'll actually see Dr. Oddfellow and Jack's silhouettes fighting. Now, you'll see Dr. Oddfellow shove Jack into a box. This is a very iconic moment in their history, because Jack actually gets up right before the box closes and scratches Oddfellow across the face. Some of Oddfellow's blood ends up in Jack's bloodstream, which is how he ends up becoming immortal and how we end up with the Jack the Clown that we know and love today. It's very, very, very cool. I'll try and point out some things as we're walking through if you're right behind me, like his outfit. His cane is inside of there, Jack's cane. There's a lot of little things for Jack inside of the house for all of my Jack fans out there. Now, I will also warn you, this house has a lot of clowns. So if you have any issue with clowns, you may not like it very much. It's not too terrible, I promise, but they're not like It clowns. They are just clowns. But some of them have knives, so watch your back. Now, the second house that we will go into is one of my favorites, the Darkest Steel. So we're gonna head on down to Mississippi. And we're all a part of a blues band, all right? Now, the head of our band, his name is Pine Straw Spruce, all right? And all he wants is fame and fortune. Real simple, you know? So on his journey, he ends up running into a man called the Collector. Now, the Collector offers him exactly what he wants, fame and fortune. And so Pine Straw Spruce, very quickly, without reading the fine print, signs on the dotted line just like Ariel, and things start to go very wrong very, very quickly. Yes. As we get up on stage to perform our very first show, we start to notice that those audience members don't exactly look human. No, because it's the Collector and all of his henchmen coming to collect the debt that he is owed. Yes. Now, as you're walking through this house, I want you to pay attention to the audio that's playing, because you'll notice at the very front of the house, the music is very bluesy. It's a jazz feel, very soft, acoustic-like vibes. But as the house gets more intense, The music does too, because the music helps tell the story. So it'll start to get electric, the beat will get much harder towards the end of the house. It's really, really cool. I love this house. It makes my heart so happy, just because I'm a music person, so I love all the music stuff in there. Also, you'll notice a little hut outside of the front of the house that kind of looks like Shrek's hut.
It is.
It is. It is. I think it's because in Mississippi you're kind of in the swamp. So, you know, what are you doing in my swamp? You know, it just so happens, yeah? Now, are we ready to head to the circus?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's head on in. So, our next scare zone is the start of it all. Jungle of Doom Expedition War. So, for the remainder of this section, hello, welcome to my world famous jungle cruise. My name is Lindsay and I'm going to be your skipper. I'll also act as your cruise director, your dance instructor, your personal chef, divorce lawyer, and if you don't continue to laugh at my jokes tonight, I will personally sacrifice you to Dr. Oddfellow.
All right.
Yeah. You will in fact see the backside of Fog inside of this scare zone. As well, if you look up, you'll notice that you've got 253 creepy bats always watching.
Wazowski.
Exactly. Now, inside of this scare zone, up towards the very front of the scare zone, there's actually a stage set up. And they, throughout the night, will actually do a little show where Dr. Oddfellow is, in fact, finding that green skull that we see him with throughout the entire event. So we may or may not see that as we're walking through tonight, but it is something to keep an eye out for. Dr. Oddfellow looks like a jungle cruise skipper. He does. He's got the khakis and everything. He's all ready to go. Yeah. So with that being said, it's time to hop aboard my boat and let's go see the backside of Fog. Yeah?
All right.
This is in fact based off of the video game, not the TV show. Although they are similar in basis of storyline, there are a lot of things inside of this house that directly correlate with the game that you would not see in the actual television show. This is the scariest part of the video game, and it's the scariest place on Earth. It's Pittsburgh. Yep, we're heading to Pittsburgh, and it starts off with Joel and Ellie as they crash their truck into the convenience store and immediately start getting attacked by those human hunters. From there, they then have to face stalkers, runners, clickers, and of course, the bloaters. Oh yeah. Now, for my gaming friends inside of this house, as you're walking, you'll notice along the path line that there are bricks and bottles, which would have been the things that you use to distract any of the infected in order to round corners, or even some of those human characters that you would come across. You will also see a workbench inside of this house, which is where you would have upgraded your weapons. There are also notes on some of the tables and some of those shelves and stuff that you'll see, which would have been the notes that you would have found to find the codes to get into safes to get you more items that you would need throughout gameplay. There's also a moment where there's a hotel key card on top of a desk, and then 2 rooms later, you actually see the swipe for where you would have used it to get inside of the room. So it's really cool. You'll see that what is it called? The brr thing. The generator. There we go.
Oh, yes.
The generator. Sorry, I don't know why that English word was so hard, but you'll see a generator inside of there, which is really cool. And then I also love that you get to have that moment where you're walking through the spores, which is that moment in the game where you'd have to put on that gas mask to make sure that you didn't become infected yourself. I know the first time I walked through and I saw that moment, my jaw hit the floor, and the team member was like, "Look at the spores! So cool!" But I'm a nerd, so that's why that happens, you know. Now, Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who are the original voice actors for Joel and Ellie, my goodness, actually came back and recorded some lines that were specific for our house.
Oh,
so it's really cool. They were really working with us as we were going through this entire process to make sure that everything was as accurate as possible. Now, my absolute favorite fun fact about this house, though, has to do with our infected friends. So, no 2 infected have the exact same growth on their masks or even on their prosthetics. They wanted to make sure that it was as realistic as possible, so they individualized everyone's growths, which is just haunting as you're walking through because of how unique it is, and you truly feel like you're being dropped in the middle of this game. So, I think I've said enough. Are we ready? Do we think we can face the infected? Woo! All right, let's head on in. Now, this house is going to be very similar to our 2019 Monsters house when it was right over there. But this one is its own little snippets of all of our monsters. Not like last year where they were battling it out. It's their own individual stories, which I think I prefer it. But we're going to have 4 kind of and a half monsters inside of this house. So we have Dr. Jekyll. He is currently on a world tour. He's showing off all of his research that he's done on the duality of the mind. And his next stop is Paris. The half monster comes with Hyde. You know, he's like a 1.5, you know. It's fine, it's fine. Now we also have the Invisible Man. It's gonna be very good to see him tonight. But he's currently trying to escape justice. So he goes to Paris. Yeah. And then we got 2 monsters that already live in Paris. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and my personal favorite, the Phantom of the Opera. They certainly forgot to leave box 5 empty, because let me tell you, he's coming with a vengeance. Oh yeah. Now, we actually have a brand new mask for our Phantom this year. It's a much fleshier mask, not that classic white one that we're all used to seeing. I think it adds a little bit more of a scare factor to it. It's real creepy. I love it. We also brought back an old scare from our 2019 house with our Hunchback, which is very exciting, and it gets me every time I flinch, no matter what. It's beautiful. So, with that being said, unfortunately, there's no baguettes, there's no berets, just a lot of scary monsters. But are we ready to head to Paris?
Yes.
Let's head on in. officially at Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. Now, our storyline for this house is that we're at Halloween Horror Nights, and we decided to build a Chucky house because why not? So we built 25 Chucky dolls for our original Chucky house, and we needed somebody to come out and endorse the new house. So who better to endorse his house than Chucky? So we invite him out, we have him go through the house, and he comes out and he goes, well, that was terrible. I hated every second of it. Nobody's dying. Come on, I want to play. So he decides to possess all 25 Chucky dolls that we made for the house and take over and start killing everybody. Team members, scare actors, guests, you name it. He's just going for it. It's a good time. Now, this house does have an interactive element this year. So there's a big red button in the second half of the house. If you hit it, it sets off a trigger in the next room. Hit the big red button. It's fun. Yeah, yeah. So, with that, you ready to play? Yeah. All right, let's go.
All right, so we just got done with our private RIP tour at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. We did, at least Brian and I did, a total of 19 houses. So we obviously went through most of them, well, we went through all of them multiple times, except for The Exorcist and Chucky. But yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, they take you to the front of the line to every house. Any of the rides that are open, they'll take you right up to the front. We even got to do the backstage tour of The Mummy, and so we got to walk underneath the track and see the ride running above us, so that was really cool. Our tour guide was Lindsay, and she was great. She stuck with us till the end. We lost most of our group. We were here with some friends and family, and it was just Brian and I for the last hour and a half or so. But yeah, all in all, I think it's definitely worth, I know it's expensive, but it's definitely worth the price to just get front of the line all night. Oh, we also, you guys, Rip Ride Rocket was the only ride at Universal that we haven't ridden, except for Pterodon Flyers, because that's really hard to ride if you don't have a child. So Rip Ride Rocket was the last roller coaster we had not ridden at Universal, and we rode it tonight because we couldn't chicken out in line, and it wasn't that bad, but it did shake us around, and we were so scared at the beginning. We were pushing our lap bars down really tight, and then they ended up being way too tight, and we had stomach aches when we got off because it was just pushing on our stomach the whole time. But I'm really proud of us that we finally rode Rip Ride Rocket, because we've done Velocicoaster, we've done Hulk, and those are fine, but we had not done Rip Ride Rocket, and we conquered our fear. But thank you for joining us tonight. If you have any questions about the tour, just leave it in the comments below. Remember to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so hit that subscribe button. And otherwise, we're gonna go to sleep. It's after 2 in the morning, and you have a good night.